Alright, I watched your video about income taxes and I'm going to now tell you a story. We got a little guy here. His name is Bill. All through school, his family did not, he comes from Poor Town, okay? There's a place called Poor Town. Let me tell you something. Those people are really poor. Alright? They only afford the bare essentials. Now, Bill here, he comes from Poor Town. He's not in the best of health already. That's one strike against him. Now then, his family doesn't have a computer because they can't afford one. They can't buy him a car. Alright? And they can't afford to send him to college. And he said, well, there's a solution for that. We'll just put him on the Pell Grant. Oh yeah, well, we'll put him on the Pell Grant, okay. Now how is he going to get to the college if he has no car? And even if he does manage to get to the college, how is he supposed to study when he has no computer? Where's your solution? Oh, just get it off eBay. Yeah, you get these piece of dirt computers that break on you every 5 seconds. That is, if you can even afford to not only buy the computer, but pay for the shipping to get it over here so you can actually use it. Yeah. If you come out of high school with a diploma, you have no computer, no car, and no college education, you don't have hope. Especially if you're not well. If you're ill in any way, you're screwed. But let's say Bill, after several months, does manage to find a job in which his parents can actually take him to work. Because remember, they do have a car even though he doesn't. Now remember, Bill's parents work, both of them. When you live in Poor Town, they both work. So, they've got to find a job in which they can take him to work, drop him off, and they can go to work themselves. That's not easy. So you got a friend to take you. Oh, he doesn't have friends. Okay? When you're living in Poor Town, you don't have friends. I promise you that. Nobody wants to hang around you. Now remember, he gets no social life either, because he can't afford it. He hadn't been able to afford it all through school, and he couldn't get a job while he was in school. No way to get him a job like that. It affected his studies, and his parents really felt that it would be better that he completes his schooling so he can at least have his diploma, so he at least have some chance. Well, he won't have to worry about income taxes because he won't be able to get a job. Now, let's say he finally does manage to get a job in which he can have his parents drop him off while they go and go to their job. Yeah, that's a real tough one. Ever tried that? Doesn't work out too good. Now, let's say he does manage to land a Pell Grant and his parents can actually take him to the college. Remember, he still has no computer, so there's no way he can do any kind of research except at the library. And he has to have transportation to get him to the library. Now, his parents work. How is he supposed to get to the library? Doesn't happen. So now, once again, he's flunking out of school because he cannot do the computer research that he has to do in order to complete his studies. So college is out of the question. So now he's stuck in a rut. But even if he does get a job, the very second he gets a job, the Pell Grant notices, and after a while, they cut him off. No way to pay for that college education. No way for the parents to get a loan because they're too poor to get a loan. Now what's he do for education? Nothing. So he ends up with this 2-bit job. Finally, he manages to scrape enough money up. Let's say he works for a year or two at a retail job. Okay? Boy, that'd be a trick and a half. Works a couple of years at retail. Alright? He saves up all his tax return money and finally buys himself a car so he can actually go back and forth to work, and possibly he can even actually go to college. But remember, no more Pell Grant, so he has no way to pay for that college education. He still has no computer. That's a problem. That's a big problem. But even when he gets his job, he has to pay federal taxes, state taxes, health insurance, retirement, rent, and car insurance. Where's he going to get his money for buying the computer? He's not going to. It's that way. So he gets stuck in this rut for about 20 years. He doesn't get married. He doesn't have kids. What's going to happen to him then? Well, let's say he finally manages to scrape up enough money where he finally does manage to get a computer. Finally, he gets his computer at long last. He still can't afford his college education. So again, still no hope. He finally gets the car, he finally gets the computer, he has no education. Now what's he supposed to do? Then the day comes that he starts becoming really infirmed. He has to retire. He doesn't get a choice. He has to retire. What's he going to live off of? He's had no money to put in any savings. You say, well, what about that retirement that he put himself into? Yeah. Let's say he's got about 10 grand in retirement at long, long last. That and Social Security might keep him barely alive. That is, if he never moves out of his parents' house. So his parents have to deal with him until he's well into his 40s. Then what? Then they die. And he hopes that they didn't go getting a reverse mortgage, because here's what happens. They can keep the house as long as his parents are alive. As soon as they die, he has to pay all that reverse mortgage money back. And if he doesn't have it, he's out on the street. Now what does he do? So taxes is really not a big thing for him. The American way is that this is supposed to work is this. When you earn enough money, you're supposed to put it into a savings account or a certificate of deposit or something like that, so it can actually earn money, so that when you get to your golden years, you can live off that investment income and not have to worry about doing manual labor anymore. But that's not what's happening to Poor Town. No, they're just ending up on the streets, and then they perish because they're cold and they're hungry, and they have nothing, and they have nowhere to go and nothing to eat. That's the problem. So what can be done about this no hope? We have to fix the part of the college education. That's where I come in to bridge the gap. I know one little secret about colleges that a lot of people don't know. You can take proficiency exams and get out of a lot of classes and get college credit. So, if you learn a lot of material from me and you go take these proficiency exams and therefore you get out of a lot of classes, you got college credit, and they take a look at that on your resume. Then you have a better chance of getting a better job where you can earn better income. Therefore, you finally get your computer, you get your car, and you can finally make a life for yourself. But here comes the final problem. We now have a president in office who has been talking about increasing the taxes, the capital gains taxes you were talking about, from 15% to 35%. He finally makes it to the top, and now all that income is going to be robbed from him. So he still ends up on the street. That's what I consider wrong. A lot of retired people depend upon that retirement income, and if you go and double the taxes on it, they're going to be out in the streets. They can barely afford the taxes now. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when that income, that capital gains is going to be increased from 15 to 35%? They're going to be out on the streets tomorrow. And that's the problem. You say, well, this is unrealistic. This is people like Bill are unrealistic. That's not true. I know this for a fact. I've met people like Bill. Bill only has one hope now. His hope resides on whether I can produce enough videos that he can watch those at the library. That is, if he can actually get there, which eventually he might. and learn all this stuff so he can proficiency out of these courses, and therefore, you know, he may have to pay a little bit of money to take those tests, as far as that's concerned, but he wouldn't have to attend the classes, which is gas savings, car savings, that kind of thing. Therefore, he can get himself a better job and possibly invest for himself and maybe be able to take care of himself when his parents are dead. And maybe give him a little hope that he can get married, and possibly give him a little hope that he may be able to have children at some point. Without people like me, Bill has no chance. None. Zip. Zero. Think it's impossible? Come to Poor Town and you'll find out how impossible it is not. Maybe you'll think about that before you produce your next video. I know I think about it all the time. It's part of the reason why I'm slapping these videos up so quick. Maybe we can get Poor Town to be a little bit less of Poor Town before we have to endure a second term of office. I don't know. But I can tell you one thing. I'm not waiting for this president to improve our educational system. I don't care if he tries or not. I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to bridge the gap. And if nothing else, they can prove those skills to a potential employer, and that employer may hire them anyway, even if they don't have the college degree, because if you can prove your skills, whether you have that college degree or not, they may still take you. And there are ways to prove your skills. So, anyway, that's all I've got to say about your wonderful income taxes. Let me tell you people something. If those capital gains taxes go from 15% to 35%, you're going to see a lot more homeless people. That's a guarantee from me to you. So you better hope that our government gets a few brains in their heads and doesn't do that. Because if they do, it's going to be a nightmare for the United States. That should be a campaign issue. I don't know why it's not, but it should be. So, that's all I got to say about this. I'll tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.